one of the things that we content creators have always said is that there needs to be more online protections for young people, right? And a lot of times, social media can be good, but social media can also be bad, and can do harm, especially to younger people who get emotionally involved in the online community. And New Mexico has decided to lay the hammer down on Mark Zuckerberg. Now, it's kind of strange how I'm about to do an article for you guys involving Facebook while streaming on Facebook. With that kind of aside, please help support Witchcraft TV. Also support the Satanic content creators. Check us out at TST TV. That is the Satanic Temple.tv. Now let's talk about Facebook. Facebook, okay, for adults, we kind of know the limits when it comes to social media posting, right? We post stories the whole time. We kind of tell people our life story through images, through text, whatever the situation. But for younger people, Facebook can be incredibly dangerous. So, just how dangerous can Facebook be? Well, we are gonna have a look at this article. All right, let's do this. Meta ordered to pay almost 1 billion over child safety failings. Judge in New Mexico found the company to be a public nuisance and ruled that most of the money will be used for treatment services of younger people. Yeah, I mean, younger people in general, so we're talking about kids here, but I will use the term younger people so YouTube doesn't sort of ban me from the algorithm. And knowing me, and knowing my luck, Facebook is going to see this article and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, we're going to censor her. Here comes Selena once again. We're going to do this. But I encourage you guys to become more awake and to kind of see the bigger issues at play here, especially when there has to be proper safety features for our young to protect them online, something that Facebook, quite honestly, is failing to do. It isn't just a New Mexico thing, it is a global thing. Our younger people around in every sort of corner of life are highly susceptible to the downside and the addiction of social media, especially Facebook. This is why in Australia they're banning kids from using Instagram and they put into place curfews. It's to kind of sort of bridge that gap between safe browsing and doing things they shouldn't be doing and being susceptible to posts by adults. So let's jump into this article here. Meta, the owner of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp, has been ordered to pay $560 million, that's about £421 million, to address the harm caused to children on its platforms. The ruling, handed down by a US judge in New Mexico, stipulates that the bulk of the money, about $420 million, will be used for treatment services for young people. The rest will go to awareness and prevention, screening services, and other costs over the next 5 years. I think for parents out here, you need to be aware of the pitfalls of social media, especially for your kids, right? You know, people are drawn to Facebook, they're drawn to Instagram. Now, I don't personally use WhatsApp, I have big issues with it. You know, WhatsApp, Telegram, etc. have got some serious security issues and are a safety threat to younger people. But we're looking specifically here at Facebook and Instagram because those are the two kind of wild wests out there where our young are kind of driven by social media influencers. They're also vulnerable to receiving messages from adults, right? Let's just be honest about this. Facebook does not have proper safety nets in place. They say they do. They say that they value the safety of our kids, but they don't really. This is part of the problem. You know, you could go onto Instagram and even with a young person's account, you're still vulnerable. And so, yeah, there have been safety failings, and our young are being exposed to adult themed discussions or posts or whatever the situation. And this is part of the overarching goal of making the internet as safe as humanly possible, which is an ongoing challenge. You know, I've been on the internet a very long time, and I will tell you, safety back in the old days of the internet, right, wasn't really a thing. It's only a thing due to the sheer amounts of grooming and other situations that influencers pose to our young people. The new penalty is in addition to the $375 million Meta was ordered to pay in damages after a jury ruled in March that the company had knowingly harmed children's mental health, taking the total to almost 1 billion. Yeah, it is harmful to children's mental health. They're in, you know, the kids come online, right? They join up to Facebook, Instagram, or whatever the situation, because all of their friends have it and they want to be keeping up with the Joneses, right? It does actually play a part in mental health because you become kind of amalgamated into the system of the online world, which can be traumatic to some extent, right? You see posts about politics, you see posts from influencers trying to push brands around and trying to lead our young astray, right? Kids are drawn to influencers. This is part of the problem. They don't seem to realize that influencers, I mean, if I'm going to be perfectly honest and totally bitchy here, influencers are fake. They come out with this lifestyle, right? But they really do not live the lifestyle that they claim to live in the online persona. But kids don't seem to realize that. And they fall into the trap of saying, hey, I've got to have tattoos. Hey, I've got to be this way. Hey, I've got to look this way to be accepted by other kids or in the online community. And there's also the question of online bullying, right? And when adults are involved, online stalking and grooming, especially if we were to look at Roblox. Now, I will do a video on Roblox, probably not today, but that is coming up. It's on my schedule of videos to do. But Facebook does not protect our young. It doesn't. And I think parents need to be aware of this. I think the parents just try. I think, like, part of the issue is parents tend to be like, oh, it's just Facebook, what could go wrong? Oh, it's just Instagram, what could go wrong? And with both Instagram and Facebook, there aren't those safety features in place. This is something that Meta has lied about from the get-go. Oh yeah, our platform is 100% safe. No, it's not, because younger people are, you know, their mental state is affected by the sheer amount of posts and advertisements and kind of having in their minds to keep up with the Joneses, right? And that does play into the mental health of young people. But meanwhile, Meta is just like, well, our safety features are that we'll have an age verification check, or will protect and restrict some posts, but they don't exactly have proper safety features in mind. Oh boy. Meta has said it disagrees with both rulings and will appeal. So they want to appeal because they know the system. I mean, this is part of the issue with Meta. It's a bit like they know they aren't protecting children, but they want to appeal this in order to save face, in order to not having serious legal issues crop up, right? So this is standard corporate bullshit where, like, oh yeah, fruity language from the outset, viewer discretion is advised. This is standard for Facebook. They're like, oh crap, now we're what do we do? Well, let's just try to appeal a system that we didn't have in place to begin with and say that we do in order to save face. This is standard corporate behavior. While the total amount Meta has been ordered to pay, which is $942 million, constitutes a small fraction of its roughly $60 billion annual profits in 2025. New Mexico Attorney General Raul Torres said that the decision represents a victory for every parent who has worried about what social media is doing to their child, and to every child who deserves to grow up in a safer online. I would agree. Kids are, like I mentioned before, kids come online and on Facebook and Instagram, right? They follow young teenage influencers, and they don't know the difference between the fake bullshit that influencers do and reality. They think that what they see, what they read, what they're exposed to is 100% real, when in fact it isn't. And this does play a role in mental health, because kids are being easily swayed into buying products online, right? Or having to buy using real world money, which is causing financial strain. But kids are like, oh my gosh, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, I've got to keep up with the Joneses. You know, if my favorite influencer is wearing bright orange, now I've got to wear bright orange, right? And they become swept up, not just by influencers, by the online personas which they then create for themselves, because they think that it's perfectly normal behavior. This is part of the problem. And as safe as we would like to think the internet is, it's really not that safe. Trust me, coming from somebody who grew up with the internet. But I grew up in a time when the internet was in its infancy. I'm that old, right? I was a script kiddie, right? I learned how to script, I learned how to code, I learned how to kind of see the behind the scenes of the internet. And I will tell you, the safety features that a lot of internet companies say they don't have. Facebook does not have safety features in place to protect children. Why? Because that would involve changing the actual source code of Facebook to begin with, and that would cause major issues for all users on Facebook, because then they'd have to have different security logins, etc. Right? So is Facebook actually going to change? Are they going to have proper safety features in place? No. There was this big story, and I'll cover this probably in a different video, but in Australia, kids have a curfew on social media, especially for Instagram. Instagram seems to be the worst affected when it comes to mental health, because kids tune into Instagram, right? They're scrolling, they're doing all of this, and it does play a key factor in altering the mental state of that child. And I think for parents, right, this kind of victory is well fought, because parents have to make sure that their young are being properly protected. And if they're not being protected, then things like this need to happen, where companies are actually told, look, what you're doing is fundamentally wrong. All right, let's move on. Meta is facing lawsuits from thousands of families over similar issues. Earlier this year, the company, along with Google, was found liable in a court in Los Angeles for a woman's social media addiction in what was hailed as a landmark ruling. Yeah, it is an addiction. Like, people people are addicted to the doom scroll, right? You log online, right, and you start doom scrolling, and adverts pop up, and you're like, oh, I need this product, right? And slowly over a period of time, you become addicted to that doom scrolling, where kind of just as you're going to bed at night, right, it's like just one more scroll. I've learned over the course of time not to become addicted, right? The only times I do these streams is when I'm doing the news, or when I'm kind of, first thing in the morning, right? But I'm not as addicted as most people, where they have to continue to doom scroll and scroll and scroll. And then they have online dating, they have the influencers, they have everything. It is an addiction. And this is especially damaging to young children, because children are glued to their phones. I kid you not. You think it's bad with adults? Kids are also glued to their phones, right? And this brings back the whole discussion of, we replaced round table or round dinner table conversation with doom scrolling and the eyes down on the cellular device. People are hopelessly addicted, and part of the problem is they don't know they are addicted. They just think, oh, just one more scroll, one more check on my favorite influencer, right? Am I an influencer? No. I'm a very controversial person. I will get you to think. Oh boy, let's carry on, shall we? Both companies say they plan to appeal. Well, they don't really, like, here's the issue with Instagram and Facebook. They don't have grounds to appeal because they know they don't have safety features in place. True, in Australia and some parts of the UK, there is a social media curfew, but that doesn't stop people. I mean, it looks good for the news, right? It looks good and all of this, but kids will find a way around it because they are so addicted that if you kind of take that source of addiction away, kids are going to find a way around it, right? So will just a basic curfew work? No. But it looks good. It kind of gives that some hit of dopamine where parents think wrongly that this means that kids are going to be even safer. Are they? No. Oh boy. All right, let's continue. In a statement on Thursday, Meta said, and I quote, "We work hard to keep people safe on our platforms and have been transparent about the challenges of identifying and removing bad actors and harmful content." Bullshit. We remain confident in our record of protecting teens online and will continue to defend ourselves against claims that misrepresent the facts. Bullshit. That's, this is why I want you guys to sort of wake up and see, like, the bigger picture here. Facebook have been called out legally for not protecting our kids, and their only response is, well, we have safety things in place. Everything's fine. Everything's cool. Everybody's friends now, right? That they'll come up with this big ass script where they'll make you think that you're safe, but are you really? No, because they would have, like I said, they would have to edit the code, and they're not going to do that. They're going to continue to say, yeah, but teenagers are safe on Facebook, while at the same time what they're not saying is we're not going to edit the code, we're not going to put in different security features. I mean, Facebook, in theory, and this is something they won't do, but Facebook, in theory, could make a teen version of Facebook. Or it could make a version of Facebook solely available for younger families. But they're not going to do this because this will cost money, which they already have, but they're not really vested in safety. They're vested in how many users are on our platforms, how many users have businesses on our platforms, how many users are verified on our platforms. We need more verification, we need more users, we need more people to give us money. They're not thinking safety. It's all about making money at the end of the day. All right. As part of the latest ruling, Judge Brian Bitschid, who said the company had created a public nuisance, yeah, he's right, ordered Facebook and Instagram to clearly display information on their platforms about their protection features, best practices, and tools to address inappropriate comment. Will this actually happen? I mean, there are some safety features, especially when it comes to vids, because Facebook will just blacken it out and it will have like a message saying this is inappropriate. They probably do that with most of my streams because I am controversial. So they have some features in place, but kids can still click on those vids. And they do this because they want to be edgy, right? And they want to see why this content was inappropriate for younger people. Facebook also do not really monitor messages. They say they do, but they don't really. Instagram and Facebook have always had issues. Always had issues. All right, let's continue. Judge Beach Sheets also said, while privacy laws prevent Meta from applying age verification tools to kids under 13, I mean, that's a whole different ethical kettle of fish. It should continue to improve its age assurance tools, which include using AI to determine someone's age and look to develop a dedicated under 13 years of age protection model within the next 2 years. Yeah, they have the code, right? They have the resources. They have the money. But the point is, they're not focused enough to do it. They'll only do it if the appeal fails and they have to put these new things in place. But they're just going to look at this and they'll appeal it and they'll say, well, yeah, we promised to have better safety. Don't worry, everything's fine now. Any changes in New Mexico, however, would be subject to review by the state. Later this month, another trial against Meta begins in California, where it will face 4 of the 29 states suing the company in a federal multi-district lawsuit that alleges it knowingly designed features that addict children to its platforms. That is the big problem, is the addictive features. For adults, I get it, right? Adults tend to live on their phones. But kids need to be kids. Kids don't need to get this hit of dopamine and forget that they're kids type thing, right? You know, when kids come online, it's all about, wow, I'm on the online world, and they see all these adverts, they see the influencers, they see that they kind of see the internet through rose-tinted glasses, which has always been a thing. And this opens them up to viewing material and accessing material that they really shouldn't be able to do. And it also opens younger people up for serious addictions, whether it be buying X amount of Robux on Roblox, whether it be, you know, putting a ton of money into Minecraft, whatever the situation, kids become addicted to it. They get the dopamine hit without realizing that this is a very dangerous addiction to have. So, are we going to see more stories about Facebook? Yes. Are we going to see more stories about Instagram? Yes. Will the curfew in Australia, especially for Instagram, actually work? No. And I can say that because there was a report where kids are already finding a way around the curfew. Like, once you're addicted to something, you will find a way to get what you are addicted to, no matter any fail-safe systems in place. So kids are already getting around a curfew. So there we go for the stream. Before I go, make sure that you help support satanic content creators. You can check us out at thesatanictemple.tv. Also, please help support Witchcraft TV. Show Harold Carter some love, and I will talk to you guys later.